Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Scottish North American Community Conference 2021. Presenting John King Bellassai, President of the Council of Scottish Clans and Associations.
Good afternoon, everyone. Hope you can hear me and see me just fine. I am John Bellassai. I am President of the Council of Scottish Clans and Associations. We're one of 6 Scottish heritage organizations which co-sponsor this conference, the Scottish North American Community Conference. And I'm your host for today's segment, Friday. Our theme this year, as I think you all know, is Expressions of Scottishness, exploring the full dimensions of Scotland's engagement with North America. That's a very broad topic. I think you'll see that we are covering a lot of ground in the next 3 days. It's a very tight schedule, so my job is to keep to it, and I'm going to do that. It's about 4 o'clock U.S. Eastern time right now. We're going to go for about 2 hours and 15 or 20 minutes today, and then we'll see you again tomorrow morning. I'm going to introduce our keynote speaker, the Reverend Dr. Joseph Morrow, Lord Lyon King of Arms. He's a good friend. I've got to know him a bit over the last couple of years. I'm very pleased and honored to be able to introduce him to you again this year. He was with us last year. Dr. Morrow is currently the Lord Lyon King of Arms and was appointed to that role in January 2014 and sworn in February of 2014 before the Lord President of the Court of Session in Scotland. As such, he is both a judicial officer and a member of the Queen's Household for Scotland. Lyon Morrow is a member of the bar. He's taken silk. He's a QC, Queen's Counsel, and he's president of the Mental Health Tribunal in Scotland, having been a sitting judge prior to his investiture as Lord Lyon. Dr. Morrow is also an Episcopal priest, and as a young priest, he had a parish in Iowa here in the United States. So he's very familiar with the States. He's been back here a number of times, and he's a good friend to us all.
Well, good afternoon, and I hope everybody can hear me. John, can you just indicate that people can hear me?
Yes, sir. We can hear you fine.
Well, can I just say how honoured I am to be with you this afternoon, although it's evening here in Scotland, a typically dark winter evening. To give some opening remarks and to address you on some issues at the beginning of your conference. It is an honor for me to actually be with you. And that's why I decided slightly differently from last year and also to kind of brighten up the occasion to put on my royal household uniform to be with you as if I was in person. And the red and the gold alongside the office jewel of the Lord Lyon being the St. Andrew's Cross were part and parcel of my general regalia. And I thought you might just like, as a matter of course, to see that. In the background, you will see my bicon hat, and behind my head is my sword on top of the letters patent, the commission that the Queen has given to me when I became Lord Lyon. So it's an honor for me to be with you in this conference, and I hope one day that I'll be able to attend in person with you, where I can actually shake your hands and get to know you. As Lord Lyon, I am delighted tonight not only to be actually coming amongst you, but to celebrate our Scottishness, our origins, our tradition, our heritage, and above all, what it means to belong together wherever we may be in the world as part of the living Scotland. I was very taken by the word community in your organization's name. It signifies for me not just about doing things, but about standing for things and the values that make us Scottish. It's also about relationships that we have one with another, and there can be no stronger historic relationships than that of the families and clans of Scotland. Our heritage, however, belongs to all of us. It's not just for those who may be here in Scotland or with certain titles, but it's for everyone who wants to be part of the living Scotland. We have magnificent symbols to celebrate that. The saltire, the symbol of Scotland, registered in volume 1 of the public register held in my office for and on behalf of the people of Scotland. And tonight, that these people of Scotland are you as well. So the saltire belongs to you, not to any political party, not to any particular country, even though it's associated with Scotland. It's registered for and on behalf of the people of Scotland. And we come to celebrate that idea. That's something that's important to me. And it's important to me that these symbols that we actually hold dear, such as the lion rampant, or the symbol of St. Andrew himself, which is on the collar of the Knights of the Thistle, or on my badge as Lord Lyon, are kept as part of our heritage and celebrated today in the world in which we live. Let me now say a bit about my own subject, about that of heraldry. What does Scots heraldry mean for you today? Well, from the period of William the Lion to Her Majesty the Queen today, the honour of granting arms has flowed from the monarch. It's a system of recognition and identification that flows directly as honour from the monarch. In the 13th century, the first heraldry recorded in Scotland was in the Charter of Melrose. But often today, heraldry is described as the garden of Scottish history. And that's true. And that heraldry, being the garden of Scottish history, goes beyond our borders, where all Scots have gone out and taken the values and the living Scotland out into the world in which they live. Many of you, not recently, will have probably visited Edinburgh. And if you go to the castle and walk down the hill to the Palace of Holyrood House, and I recommend you do it that way, because as I get older, it's too difficult for me to get back up the hill to the castle, which is quite steep. As you go down from the castle to the palace, you will find in all of the images there a whole series of heraldic designs that tell over 4 centuries of the history of Scotland. And yet it's not just these historic places that tell the history through heraldry. If you go to Bangkok, there is a St. Andrew's Society of Bangkok with registered heraldry representing Scots who have moved to Bangkok. I was very privileged in 2015 to go to Utah to the Highland Games there and to grant the Scottish Utah Association their own arms. Arms that consisted of the symbols of Scotland, the thistle and the saltire, but the symbols too of Utah, the dog rose and the hive, representing that state. So it brings together ideas and practices in heraldry of recognition and identification. Those of you who want to kind of explore this a little more, just think about the very simple and very Scottish arms of the chief of the name of Hay. In those arms, you will see a big white shield with 3 little red shields on it. Argent 3 in escutcheons gules is the technical language. In simple Scots, it's a big white shield with 3 wee ones in red on it. But if you see those symbols, then you know that that's part and parcel of something to do with the Hay family. Yes, yes indeed, the chief holds that simple arms, but many Hays who have recorded recognition through the heraldic sources have the same white and 3 little red shields on it. They may have it personalized, they may have it somewhat differenced, but it's there. So remember that the celebration of heraldry today takes you beyond not just your history, but into your life. It's about your recognition and about your identity. Scots heraldry is often described as an art as well as a science. Yes, it has its rules, and that's where the science comes in. And the rules are not for everybody. I have absolutely no idea, my friends, how you're able to hear and to see me through these systems on our computers. And yet I know that if I press the right buttons, it will all happen. So never be worried about the technical side of heraldry. That's for those who have a particular technician's view. But celebrate the art, the colors, the symbols, the connections, all of those relationships that are given through the vital aspects of art. Our letters patent, signed under my name through my appointment from Her Majesty the Queen, are unique pieces of art. One of the strengths of Scottish heraldry is it's not, in a sense, a bucket shop where things come out and actually simply look the same. Each piece of work will be about the person who has petitioned themselves and be individually painted and the writing done by an artist in this field onto vellum. A unique piece of work, a unique piece that represents through heraldry the unique individual who is the petitioner. There is no such thing as family history in family heraldry in Scots heraldry. If you go to the castle up at Edinburgh and you buy, for example, the MacDonald coat of arms, they will belong to your chief, but not belong to you. Each individual who meets the criteria has their own arms. Next year, in Scotland, it's the year of storytelling. And I believe that we need to tell the story of the living Scotland through our heraldry. Heraldry tells the stories of individuals, of families, of places and organizations. It's also linked very clearly to our history, our family history, to our genealogy. Just think of the hay arms again, that big white shield with the three little ones on it. If you see that, that will tell you that the member who owns that heraldry and is the individual who's petitioned for that heraldry is part of the Hay family. It may have a number of other charges and colours on it, which would show him as an individual, but it gives that heritage. And sometimes the unique historical aspects of heraldry help to fill in the gaps of someone's family history. Heraldry helps those in the diaspora to make connections to the past. It helps find out bits and pieces about who they were, where they've come from, and what makes them the person they are today. Now, to be able to be granted a coat of arms is a very difficult thing in many cases for those who are overseas, because normally it's a chat with me in the office or with the Lyon clerk and we're able to assist. We're going to try to offer some interviews with individuals over this medium in the year to come when the office is opened back up. But first of all, you need to fall under the Lyon's jurisdiction, and that's something that has certain technical aspects to it, but we try to work hard with individuals to get that right. But you must be, in a sense, a virtuous and well-deserving person. That's what the Act of Parliament that sets us up encourages us to look at. Many of you will know that I'm the sole judge of that, and also being the sole judge of that, having a good heart, I look on that with a great deal of kindness. And I'm reminded of the verse from Robert Burns that says, "Then gently scan your brother man, still gentler sister woman, for they may gan a kenning wrang to step aside as human." It's a high test, but it's about those who have aspirations to be virtuous and well-deserving. Some of you may have noticed that last year I granted posthumously to Robert Burns a set of arms that he had written about in a letter to his friend Cunningham in Edinburgh just before he died. And one of the aspects of this was I'd written an article before it to say, would the Lord Lyon of Burns's day have granted him arms? Was he this virtuous and well-deserving person? Well, I concluded that the Lord Lyon wouldn't have granted him on that day, at his time, the arms, but I put in a side remark to say that the Lord Lyon of this day might have a different view, and that led to the petition coming forward. So while that's an old-fashioned form of expression, it's one that I tried to make inclusive. So these tests are ones that I'm very keen to see as far as possible and with as far as maintaining the dignity and honor of a granting of arms that we bring in as an inclusive aspect of life. For those in America, particularly United States of America, to make the connection back to a Scot before the United States was formed as part of the particular jurisdictional issue. But it's maybe not as hard as you imagine, but it does mean sometimes having to employ a professional family historian or genealogist to assist in putting the evidence together. And there's several people in each quarter from the United States of America who actually successfully are able to be granted arms. There is also a way in which I've introduced, which is to show for the life granting of arms, because the other arms are hereditary, is to actually show that you've had a substantial contribution to the living Scotland, and that can be interpreted quite widely. So how do you go about granting arms? Well, first of all, read up on it, try to get some advice from people who've done it together, fill in your petition in a way that it makes me understand why I have jurisdiction. Then we move towards the most expressive part of it, the art side of it, which is designing the arms. And for Scots Arms, we follow the family name, and I've explained to you through the Hay Arms how that takes place. We try to keep it simple, and that's what I often call the fridge magnet test. There's no point in having your arms so complex that you can't identify them. And also that we try to personalize them around you as an individual person. Scots arms are valued throughout the world, and they are part of the living Scotland and relevant in today as much as they were in the time in which we founded the traditions that we now celebrate. Now, those traditions are moving into a very special year next year. Next year is not only the 70th anniversary of Her Majesty being on the throne, her Platinum Jubilee. She will be the longest sovereign that we've had. It is also the 350th year of the public register of all arms and bearings in Scotland. In the year 1672, King Charles II established the public register, and we've had continuous grants worldwide from that period. And next year, we have a whole series of events which we want to share with you to celebrate the 350th anniversary. I've set up a charity called the Lord Lyon Society, which is to try to digitize all our records and our registers and make them available for people to view. But next year also has a celebration in terms of a series of lectures which will be done throughout Scotland. Unfortunately, we've not been able to come overseas, but actually throughout Scotland on various topics to do with the 350 years. For example, I'm giving the concluding lecture, which is on why a public register for heraldry in Scotland. I don't know what this means, but many of you with a more technical skill than me will know. We now have our own YouTube channel on the Court of the Lord Lyon. I can't even imagine what that means, but each of these lectures will be placed up on the YouTube for you to view at your leisure and at your interest. And we're going to test the YouTube channel out before Christmas. I was very privileged to hold a head court, a formal court of the Lord Lyon in courtroom 1 at Parliament House. And there I swore in a number of new officers at arms. This has been recorded, it's been edited, and we've put a couple of slides up on it, and we're going to put it on the YouTube before Christmas so that people can start to see what kind of work that we're doing. But watch the space for the Lord Lyon Society. It's something I believe will offer you, particularly those who are not able to visit with us, an opportunity to participate in the history of the Court of the Lord Lyon. I think that's all I want to say at this particular stage, other than to say I hope that the conference has given a very wide audience over the weekend, and that actually you're able with me to celebrate what it means to belong to the living Scotland as I do it through what I think it means to be part of the living traditions of Scottish heraldry.